She didn't add a flashy new move or rewrite her identity. She changed the room. One season, she was a spare gear in a humming machine. The next, she was a load-bearing beam in a brand new build. That's the real story behind Kate Martin's pivot. The same habits that made Iowa so relentlessly functional finally found oxygen in the pros. No costume change, no reinvention arc. Just a different context that turned the quiet details into loud outcomes. People love the fireworks, the logo threes, the viral clips, but the engine behind winning is usually invisible. Talk on defense that organizes four other bodies, screens that detonate a second later and free an all-everything scorer, cuts that split a defense's attention and make the next pass inevitable. At Iowa, Martin made those invisible plays feel inevitable. In the W, she had to fight for the chance to make them matter. What followed wasn't a miracle. It was a calculation. Before arenas sold out to watch the long-range spectacle, Iowa's identity was a duet. One part limitless range, one part ruthless structure. You saw the deep shots. You might have missed the choreography. Martin was the system's connective tissue. She sealed smaller guards so a rebound dropped clean. She darted backdoor not to score but to drag a helper, a 2-second tax that made a teammate wide open. She spoke early in possessions, so 5 defenders had to think early too. Those things don't go on trading cards. They win games. And the numbers were honest about it. When Iowa needed presence, she rebounded. When it needed composure, she slowed the pulse. When it needed an extra 8 points, she supplied them without hijacking the offense. It wasn't sidekick energy. It was scaffolding that let the star climb higher without wobble. That's the job people confuse with being low usage. It's actually high responsibility, no spacing, timing, personnel, and what the possession requires right now. The skill is less about touch and more about truth. What does this moment need? The drought many players never escape is this. A league will applaud that skill set while simultaneously burying it if the roster math is unforgiving. Iowa was the ideal lab for Martin's brainy version of basketball. The pros demanded a different variable, access. Draft night is pure helium. Cameras, hugs, a franchise hat, the idea that the next door will swing open on cue. It did open, but not to a starter's runway. Martin walked into a champion's locker room where the rotation was already a solved puzzle. In that world, learn often means wait, and wait sometimes means watch. It's brutal math. 12 roster spots, veteran chemistry, and only so many minutes to distribute without breaking what wins. Her game didn't shrink. Her time did. For a while, the most honest thing on the stat sheet wasn't a percentage. It was the column labeled MP. Quick pause, because we're building something here too. If you like breakdowns that go beyond the headline and into how careers actually turn, do me a small favor that makes a huge difference. Hit subscribe, drop a like, and leave a comment with the one part of Martin's game you think scales best in the pros. Early hit-ahead passing, weak side rebounding, or screencraft. YouTube pushes thoughtful channels when people engage, and right now this community is tiny but sharp. Your tap literally tells the system, show this to more hoop nerds. If you're in, you're part of why this kind of film room storytelling survives. Back to the floor. That first pro season asked a cruel question. Can you keep believing when the box score is almost blank? Some players chase touches, others chase moments. Martin doubled down on moments. The problem was simple. She needed a team that valued them loudly enough to turn them into minutes. Dynasties are paradoxes. They're beautifully stable for veterans and unforgiving for newcomers. Every possession is optimized, every role carved into stone. It's efficiency at scale. But if your superpower is the unsexy stuff, talking a switch half a beat early, setting the angle that opens the lane for someone else, there's only so much you can prove in microstints. You're told to be ready, and you are. You're told your time will come, and it might. But the runway is short and the evaluation is harsh. Make 2 impact plays in 5 minutes or get comfortable clapping. There's no villain in that story. Coaches protect the formula that wins. Stars protect the rhythm they need to be stars. Rookies protect their confidence and hope it outlasts the DNPS. The machine isn't personal. It's indifferent. And indifference is its own weight. For a connector like Martin, the math was missing one variable: trust. Not the fuzzy kind that gets tossed around in quotes, but the practice-to-game kind that says, we want your talk, your cuts, your screens, run all of it at full volume. So the question shifted from what can she add to where does what she already does get maximized? Sometimes the bravest basketball decision is a geographical one. Expansion is a cosmic coin flip for players like Martin. New teams need identity more than highlights, habits more than headlines. For once, the market wasn't saturated, it was thirsty. A blank whiteboard, a GM who wanted talkers and trackers, not just scorers. A coach whose offense rewards cut and replace and whose defense punishes silence. For a connector, that's oxygen. Being selected in an expansion draft isn't just a transaction, it's a thesis statement. You're not the 12th fit on someone else's ladder, you're part of the blueprint. The meetings aren't, how do you survive 15 minutes? They're, how do we teach our 5 out into second side actions so that your slip reads trigger the next pass? That wording matters. In one place, you're hoping to not be the weakest link. In the other, your strengths become system pillars on day one. Most careers don't get a reset this clean. They get smaller pivots, band-aids over misfit roles. Expansion is different. It replaces the question, where do you fit? With, what can we build around what you do? For Martin, the whiteboard had bullet points that sounded suspiciously like her scouting report. Communication, pace, pace again, and line-to-line effort that tilts close games. There are minutes where you try not to drown, and minutes where you set the tide. Survival minutes are reactive. Don't turn it over, don't foul, don't miss the rotation. Identity minutes are declarative. Set the nail early, tag then recover, talk the switch before the screen hits, sprint into the corner to widen the slot drive, bury the help with a hard pin, and open a clean catch and shoot. The first type keeps you employed. The second type makes you necessary. In a system that prizes speed with purpose, Martin's game accelerates without getting sloppy. Watch the early offense and you'll notice a small tell. The hit-ahead doesn't always chase a layup. Sometimes it invites the defense to overhelp. And that's when the second pass becomes devastating. That's connective basketball. It turns a simple advance into a rotation problem, and then cashes out on the weak side with a rhythm 3 or a hard cut through a stunned gap. None of it works if the talk is late. All of it sings if the talk is early. On defense, identity minutes look like this. Call the coverage before the pick arrives, shade your body to bait a pass you plan to deflect, and when the shot goes up, crash like velocity is a skill. Weak side boards are demoralizers. They add a possession and steal breath from legs. Glue players who rebound are accelerants. They let your stars run on makes and misses. They turn stops into sprints. They make coaches' blood pressure drop. That's not glamorous, it's gravitational. Trust isn't a quote, it's a sequence. It starts in practice with the boring stuff. Shell drill talk, closeout discipline, screen angles repeated until they're muscle memory. It continues when a coach lives with a miss because the decision was right. The corner 3 was open from a second side spray, so shoot it again. It becomes culture when teammates know that the person who called ice on the side pick actually meant it and will stay attached through the shuffle. When that loop closes, something subtle changes. The ball arrives half a beat earlier, cuts are thrown to space instead of faces, and shots feel like outcomes, not auditions. That's why some stat lines lie. A 5-point night with 9 action-triggered reads can be more valuable than a quiet 12 from random isolations. Connection scales. The hidden metric is how many easy decisions a player creates for others. Martin's value sits right there. She reduces choices for her teammates. She turns maybe into yes by being exactly where the geometry needs her. Offense looks smooth when space is obvious. Defense looks mean when speech is constant. Trust is also interval training for confidence. When a team validates your habits, the mind stops hoarding energy for the next mistake. You play free. Free players run faster, see earlier, and finish stronger. It's not magic, it's bandwidth. The WNBA is designed to compress certainty. Small rosters, veteran cores, travel that dares your legs to quit, scouting that erases your first option by halftime. It's a pressure cooker for decision-making. In that environment, players can be good enough for the league and wrong for a specific locker room at a specific time. That's not failure, that's misalignment. Fixing it isn't about becoming someone else. It's about finding the one system that needs your exact strengths right now. Martin's arc is a case study in that reality. She didn't become taller, faster, or flashier overnight. She found a team that monetizes communication, sprint habits, and screencraft. Connectors get paid when their teams want to connect. The moment that want turns into a plan, careers stop stalling and start compounding. What looks like a leap is usually a fit snapping into place. Zoom out, and this is the message that survives the news cycle. Young players, film the highlights, sure, but interrogate the context. Are you developing tools that only matter when you're on ball, or tools that travel from lineup to lineup? Coaches, if you say you love glue, build a scheme that values glue loudly enough to keep it on the floor when shots don't fall. Fans, if you enjoy clean basketball, keep an eye on the people who make possessions breathable. They're usually the ones everyone else thanks later. If you want to see Martin's fingerprint in real time, look for these micro moments. Early clock. She sprints into the corner not to touch it, but to widen a driving lane so the slot handler has 2 steps before help arrives. Middle clock. She ghosts a screen, dragging a big just enough to make the tag late, then snaps into a 45 cut when her defender ball watches. Late clock. She flips the screen angle at the last second, turning a dead switch into a downhill shoulder that forces a collapse and creates a simple kick. None of those go viral. All of them turn tough shot into clean decision. Defensively, her best work is often inaudible on broadcast audio, but deafening to teammates. She calls the low man tag early enough that the wing can stay home. She peels off a drive when the primary beats the ball handler back to the hip, turning a near layup into an awkward pocket pass nobody actually wants. She rebounds off the weak side with 2 hands like the ball owes her money. Those habits don't guarantee wins, they tilt coin flips. Over a season, coin flips become records. And when you aggregate those habits across a roster built to amplify them, players who run without sulking, a coach who prefers second side touches to first side hero ball, you get a style that survives shooting variance. It's how a new team can play like it's been around for years. The details travel. The details scale. The details, finally, are the headline. We love tidy arcs. Buried rookie becomes breakout star, but that's Hollywood math. The honest version is cleaner and more useful. Martin calibrated. She took the same unglamorous expertise, communication, timing, rebounding with intent, screening with purpose, and put it where those things cash out. That's not a comeback, that's precision. Find the ecosystem, and the ecosystem finds you. It's the most grown-up lesson sports can teach, if that lens on hoops hits you the way it hits me. If you want breakdowns that respect your basketball IQ and stories that value context over clickbait, then help me keep this rolling. Subscribe so you don't miss the next deep dive, like so the algorithm knows this isn't fluff, and comment with the one invisible skill you think fans underrate the most. I read every one, and your takes often steer the next video. This channel is tiny right now. Your engagement is literally the difference between fading into the feed and building a real film room community. Because at the end, the lesson isn't just about Kate Martin. It's about any player or any person whose best work lives in the connective tissue. The world doesn't always reward the quiet skills at first, but when you find the right room, quiet becomes power. And power, used precisely, changes everything.